All right, folks, I was spot on, and I told you that we were going to hear from Judge Torres this week, but I was dead wrong about how she was going to rule. She has denied the settlement agreement between the SEC and Ripple. I just put away my red folder, but now I'm going to have to get it back out because we're adding a new document. Judge Torres denying the SEC and Ripple settlement. Folks, here's the full update. Basically, in summary, the judge is just sticking it to the SEC and saying, hey, you made your bed, you're going to be sleeping in it. And that's where we're at, right? We have nobody to blame but Gary Gensler's SEC and this war against crypto, but specifically the company Ripple and the digital asset XRP. But I want to break this down for you guys, make it simple for everybody to understand. I'm already seeing a lot of confusion. And this morning, I've just been battling in the trenches of Twitter, fighting misinformation, FUD, confusion, and trying to provide clarity to the community. And I can't blame you. This case has been going on for 4 years. Without this case, I wouldn't know as much about securities laws as I do now. Definitely not a legal expert, but I'm going to try to do my best to break this down for you guys as quickly as possible. So James Flan with the official filing here. This is the one that I've printed out, and I will add it to my red folder. As far as the market, we did come back down. It was interesting. The whole market actually came back down after this news of the XRP case came out. So when it hit, XRP dropped back down here. I was able to secure profit on my XRP long up at about $2.15. So I took profit on my XRP long. I got to be very clear though, guys, I did not sell any of my XRP that I hold spot. I saw that some people were confusing that, oh, why did you sell your bag? No, I just sold my futures contracts. I secured profit on that trade. And so I still hold all of my XRP. Do not get confused or get those facts twisted at all. We're still holding. And here's what Stuart Alderati has to say. With this, the ball is back in our court. The court gave us two options: dismiss our appeal, challenging the finding on historic institutional sales. And I want you guys to listen closely because I'm going to come back to this. The finding on historic institutional sales, more on that later, or press forward with the appeal. Stay tuned. Either way, XRP's legal status as not a security remains unchanged. In the meantime, it's business as usual. Now, he says business as usual. Ripple has already restructured sales to institutions, which is why they never stopped selling XRP during the lawsuit. Having the injunction lifted was just for market perception, in my opinion. Not a big deal, as the injunction is not narrowly defined. Carry on. And so what I'm referring to is the injunction. What the SEC and Ripple were trying to settle up, come to an agreement, and go back to Judge Torres on was reducing the fine from $125 million down to $50 million and returning $75 million back to Ripple. That's been denied. The second part was they wanted to lift the injunction. Now, the injunction was very general, and all the injunction says is don't violate Section 5 again, please. That's really all it was. It was not narrowly defined to specify what Ripple could or couldn't do within their investment contracts or their sales to institutions. It just said, don't violate Section 5 again. So I'm going to bring you back here to Stuart Alderati's comments where he says, the court gave us two options: dismiss our appeal challenging the finding on historic institutional sales. Now, why is that important? Well, let me show you. Historical institutional sales. Ripple has already restructured their sales to institutional partners. They will have no problem selling to institutions going forward. But what this will stop is any more pre-allocation contracts like the one done with R3. So I've already been talking about this over the past couple years. The fact that Ripple's continued to sell XRP to their institutional partners, they haven't stopped. And my speculation was that they had restructured their sales and their contracts to basically make them simple purchase agreements. You're going to give us this amount of dollars. We're going to give you this amount of XRP. That's a done deal. It's the same as me selling XRP to you. Just because it's Ripple and an institution, buying and selling XRP does not change that fact. The ruling that Judge Torres gave us on institutional sales was just very simple. The sales to institutions violated the securities laws and were found to be investment contracts, unregistered securities offerings, because they had lockup periods, they had expectations of profits based off of the efforts of others, because you had an ongoing relationship in an ongoing deal basically between the two entities, Ripple and their institutional partner. After Judge Torres ruled that in 2023, this is when Ripple, they had already restructured their sales to institutions, and it's why they've continued selling to institutions this entire time. So my speculation has now been confirmed with Stuart Alderoty's comments here today, citing the historical institutional sales. Ripple doesn't sell XRP like that anymore. There are no more pre-allocation contracts like the one that they did with R3, where R3 had an options contract to buy XRP over a 5-year period at less than a penny. It was a hell of a deal. Those deals cannot be done anymore. If Ripple wants to do a deal like that, they would have to register those. So the fact that the injunction stays in place and Judge Torres denied lifting the injunction does not change the fact that Ripple can still sell to institutions. I'm seeing some confusion on that. Some folks reporting and saying that, basically institutions are going to have to come buy it off of exchanges like we do. That's not the case. They've been buying it from Ripple. They're going to continue buying it from Ripple, but there's just no more investment contracts that can be drawn up and executed without those being unregistered securities offerings. So in my opinion, the reason why Ripple wanted to lift this injunction was just a matter of market perception, right? It was a blemish, right? They wanted to cover up and get rid of this blemish because it was just a general statement. Don't violate Section 5. It was not narrowly specifying anything in particular. And so it's really not a big deal. Not a big deal. Now, obviously, if the injunction was specific and it outlined that Ripple could not sell to institutions, period, and institutions were forced to come buy XRP off of exchanges, that would be great because that would help cause a supply shock on XRP. That would probably pump XRP's price. That's not going to happen, though. That's not the case in this regard. Ripple will still be able to continue selling to institutions, no problem. Now, Ashley Prosper comes in here and I thought put a pretty positive spin on this, saying Judge Torres basically said to the SEC, you wanted it, you got it, now deal with it. Whilst also saying to Ripple, if you want the case to end, then end it. The only thing stopping you is you. She is one tough cookie. So basically, Judge Torres is saying, if you guys want to end this, drop your appeals and this case could be over tomorrow. But now we have to look at, does Ripple pay the fine and live with the injunction, but get an exemption from the SEC for future sales? They also could do that. Or try a third bite at the apple, or move forward with its cross appeal. And does the SEC move forward with its appeal, or does it just drop the case? Ashley says, I expect both parties will end their cross appeals considering both were willing to do so anyways. Plus, the fine is inconsequential to Ripple. They got the cash, not a big deal. And the injunction, because it was not narrowly defined, could actually be worked into a positive. Think about it. An injunction, while often seen as punitive, can paradoxically become a badge of trust when viewed through a systemic compliance-focused lens. Ripple can't just wing it or pivot recklessly anymore. Every action has to pass court scrutiny or they risk contempt. Ripple can even market it. We are the only crypto company operating under a federal compliance mandate. You'll never have to worry about legal surprises, right? Ripple can say, hey, this is where we got in trouble, but we've sold billions of XRP since, and we didn't get in trouble for it, and we're not going to. We have the rubber stamp of approval of how not to do it, so now we know how we can do it with full clarity and full certainty because we know as a matter of law, and this is a very important fact to remind everybody on today, XRP as a matter of law is not a security. So Ripple has full clarity to sell XRP going forward as long as they don't package it up in these investment contracts. And so MetaLaw Man, he's echoing the same thoughts. My guess is we will see dismissals of both appeals soon because the lawyers for both sides had to have anticipated this outcome that Judge Torres would not vacate her prior ruling. Right? So, it was worth a shot. The SEC and Ripple put it forward. It was worth a shot. And it shows the willingness of the new SEC to want to actually work with us. And I said, we only have Gary Gensler's SEC to blame for this mess. The damages to the XRP community are massive and still being tallied up to this day. We are still adding to the red folder today. I could look at XRP's market cap chart today and calculate how much it dropped down, and we add that to the damages, right? If we lost a few billion on our market cap today, that's added to the damages. And we only have Gary Gensler's SEC and the corrupt lawyers that were working on behalf of the SEC as to why we're in this mess. Because Judge Torres, in this filing, she's specifically citing the SEC lawyers who had said, oh, we need to hammer Ripple. You need to fine Ripple. You need to place this injunction because they're going to break the law again. She's literally, this whole filing is citing the SEC lawyers who were under Gary Gensler, attacking Ripple and attacking every other American crypto company, saying that Ripple was the devil, that they were going to break the law again, and that you had to stick it to them. And remember, Ripple wanted to, the SEC wanted a fine of 1.3 billion. And then they wanted to up it to 2 billion because they cited that Ripple continued to sell more and more XRP. Judge Torres denied that. And she specifically said only the institutional sales violated the law. The fine's $125 million. Okay? And we only have to blame Gary Gensler and his SEC. Sure, it was filed under Jay Clayton. Sure. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, in this filing here, the fact that the SEC drew this argument out for 4 years, trying to stick it to Ripple, Gary Gensler filing the appeal 5 days before he got kicked out of office and fired, that's who we have to blame. Gary Gensler and this SEC, this corrupt bureaucracy beast that is attacking was attacking American entrepreneurs and capitalists within the digital asset space. But at least now we know that our SEC is no longer wishing to continue this battle. They want to wrap this thing up, and we're most likely going to see both parties drop the appeals. Ripple will pay the fine, and they will carry on with business as usual. You combine this with the macro picture of legislation on the way. Bo Hines, the executive director, president, council of advisors for digital assets, says, as stated today, we are committed to getting market structure done by the end of September, period. Genius Act, President Trump wants it on his desk immediately. Market structure, Bo Hines says we're still committed to the end of September. And that's what we need. You know, this case is going to wrap up. It's going to be over. But for everybody else in the space, we need that clarity, right? And so the stablecoin legislation is about to get passed. The market structure bill is right around the corner. The president, this new administration working, and some members of Congress working as fast as possible because they know it's a matter of national security to get the stablecoin legislation passed, and then a matter of keeping our gold standard of capital markets. We need the market structure passed to keep that intact. So we're working on it. Now, Coinbase came out here today. They said that they're going to be launching U.S. perpetual style futures on July 21st. No quarterly expiration dates, spot price tracking, and embedded leverage with 24/7 availability. I've been waiting for this, a nice futures trading platform in the United States. I've already started on Coinbase, and this is perfect timing for you guys to get tapped in. I just dropped yesterday a new trading lesson, the basics of futures trading. Futures 101 is what I titled it, but check that out. It's going to be linked up in the description down below at the very top. You can go check that out, get tapped in, and get prepared. I've already started trading on the Coinbase futures. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP are already 24/7, but it looks like Coinbase wants to roll out with perpetual style futures by July 21st for broader market. I don't know what all cryptos will be included, but now's the time to brushing up your skills if you've already been in the game. And if you already know how to trade futures, I also dropped an arbitrage opportunity in that trading lesson that nobody else is talking about, nobody else is taking advantage of. Myself and my community are the only ones aware of it, literally. So even if you know futures trading, in that lesson that I dropped yesterday, I did share an arbitrage opportunity that nobody's talking about. So you might still want to take a look at it. With the right person, you'll be able to make your money back 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times if you take advantage of this arbitrage opportunity that I'm talking about. Okay. Now, continuing on, the progress doesn't stop. Yeah, this staged lawsuit, crossing T's, dotting I's, it's about to wrap up. But the progress, it's going to continue. Ripple announcing their partnership with Wormhole to bring multi-chain interoperability to the XRP Ledger in the upcoming XRP Ledger EVM sidechain. Wormhole is one of the leading providers of interoperability in this space. This partnership is going to be key. And we've been talking about this, right? The hub and spoke model. The main hub and source of liquidity is the XRP Ledger, and the spokes are all of the side chains, the EVM side chain, Flares, Zahao, Corium, all of these side chains, right? And now we have another partnership here with Wormhole. Love to see it. Now, speaking of that EVM sidechain, PureSys Technology says the XRP Ledger EVM is ready. Wallets are ready, dApps are ready, infrastructure is ready, analytics are ready, XRP Ledger community is ready. Should we go ahead and launch on mainnet? I think that we should. I think it's time. XRP DeFi is going to explode. XRP, as a matter of law, is not a security. This lawsuit, it was worth a shot. The SEC and Ripple, it was worth a shot. It's been denied. That's okay. Judge Torres wants to be a stickler. And what this reminds me of is a teacher who doesn't accept your homework, even though you got the right answer, because you did it the wrong way, or you did it a way that the teacher doesn't approve of. That's what this reminds me of, right? A teacher that really wants to be a stickler, stick to the law, stick to the rules. Here's how you were supposed to do your homework, but because you did an alternative path that led you to the same right answer, we're still going to deny it because you went the wrong way. That's how I feel about this, right? She wants to stick to the law. Okay. She has court precedent. She has court law. And honestly, to stick it to the SEC kind of deserves that. But at this point, the SEC and Ripple are probably most likely going to drop their appeals. Ripple will pay the fine, and the injunction that is still on Ripple is not going to affect their business at all going forward. So, with that being said, I have placed my next order. Speaking of trading futures, I've placed my next order. I took profit on my XRP long this morning, but I placed an order down a little bit lower than the level that we're currently trading at right now. Bitcoin at 107,000, XRP at 211 as I record this update right now. So we'll watch and see if that order gets filled. But once again, we're making money whether or not this market's going up, whether it's going down, and our thesis for XRP has not changed. This is an opportunity to get in on XRP while it's way below its fundamental value. That's how simple this is. We are way below the fundamental value of XRP, which is going to be well above double digits based off the inflows that we're about to see into this asset, along with the adoption and DeFi explosion. I think $20 to $30 is coming by summer of next year. So now is your time to prepare, load up your portfolio. Other utility assets based in America, we're very bullish on as well too. We're taking advantage of that. But if you guys want to get tapped in with us, it's at zachrector.com for all of our community resources. You sign up through Patreon to get access to Discord. The trading lesson is available, linked up down below as well for you guys. We're trying to do our best to help you guys prepare for this moment. This bull run is not over. XRP is not a scam. Now is not the time to sell your XRP and get out of this thing. It's probably time to actually double and triple down. But I'm not going to give you financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And I just placed another XRP long order. I'm waiting for it to get filled. And we're going to continue making our money. I'll be back live here tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern for our live show. Come on back with your comments and questions. We'll get all those answered for you guys tonight. Appreciate you guys and all of your support. Let's smack it on the way out. God bless. We'll see you.